Facebook family, YouTube family, Instagram family, everybody. It's been a while since I did a video such as this one on my YouTube channel. Just was just looking at all the violence this weekend and just figuring out the conditions of our community. It's like there's a war going on in the communities that we haven't necessarily taken serious. And in understanding the landscape of what violence is for Chicago, it's clear to me that um, it's gonna get worse. It's gonna get worse before it get better. How y'all doing, people? So, like I say, I haven't done this in a while on my YouTube channel. So I guess I do it now and then upload it on the Facebook and other apparatus. But at the end of the day, um, and just understanding what's been going on in the conditions of our community, it's clear to me that our elected officials and those that sit in positions of authority, as well as businesses and organizations that benefits off the blight of our communities, have no true investment in really stopping violence, stopping the terroristic effect of violence. You have people that's making maneuvers that do maneuvers of violence prevention in the silent, in the secrecy, in the rooms of these offices and behind Zoom meetings, but yet really not honestly and truthfully tackling the issues, because violence and Black death is a hustle. Black death is a hustle in this country. And I can only surmise that the goal for those ones who do little, and shall I say little in that they don't do enough. They don't do enough because everybody profits off of blight. Foreigners profit off the blight of our community and the ignorance. Politicians profit off the blight of our community and ignorance. Political parties, affiliations profit off the blight and ignorance of our communities. Prison industrial complex profit off of the blight and ignorance of our community. Everyone profits off of the ignorance of our community, yet they offer no true community benefit or corporate responsibility in how they eat off of our dead flesh. We allow people to eat off our dead flesh and in ways that's unseen in the history of human existence. Ignorance, though we fringe as though we're free and have free thinking, yet we are puppets and we're led in a certain way. So with that being said, I only want to suggest to us that we be more vigilant about how we move as a community. See, one has to be literally insane to even think about tackling violence with no resources and a lack of true effort on the part of our elected officials to actually truly get at the issues of violence. The terroristic effect of violence on our women and children in our community, in my mind, is designed to drive Black property down, drive Black people out of the communities, um, and to drive Black people out of the America promise and progress. And that's been going on since we left the South, I think. but it has increased in that other foreigners and other immigrants and making space. America has already, in my opinion, decided that they don't need black people. They don't need black people. So I'm only saying to you all that one has to be insane, literally, like we are, those on the front line of stopping violence and getting at these issues. You have to be crazy to fight for people who don't fight for themselves. You have to be crazy to want to even participate in an institution or the promise of a so-called country, a democracy that excludes particular caste and class of people while claiming to be equitable and democratic in nature. So I'm telling you that it's gonna get worse before it gets better. Because if we're waiting on elected officials, pastors, politicians, and benevolent individuals to bail us out of this, you can't police your way out of violence. You have to come up with unorthodox and skillful measures to bring about that change you want to see. So, and understanding that and sitting back in the morning, meditating and observing these issues that we've been faced with, that we faced with every day, it's clear to me that they don't want to answer. They don't want to answer to the problems. We offer elected officials solutions. We offer elected officials answer. But it's more profitable to respond to violence, to respond to crime, than to prevent it. We have a police department that receives $2 billion. $2 billion to respond with 11 to 12% clearance rate on murder. $2 billion, yet we don't even have $1 billion in prevention. We don't put $1 billion in prevention, but we put $2 billion in response. This is tax dollars. This is our tax dollars. We have billions spent on the prison industrial complex, but we don't spend billions to prevent our children and our communities from being incarcerated at this rate. We have billions spent on the county jail system and judges and court systems to tackle violence and issues and ills of our communities. Yet we don't have billions to prevent. We don't put forth billions to prevent these ills and issues from happening. This is a serious time we're living in, and we around here, a lot of us are like engrossed in sport and play, engrossed in all of the promise of America's escapism from reality until you get carjacked, until people start kicking your door in and home invasions, and you become a victim of a stray bullet or intentional bullet. No one is exempt and excluded from violence. No one is exempt and excluded from harm. When we live in a society that's rich in opportunities, but yet our moral compass and our moral and our human compass is low and dead in some points. The people that are leading us are not our leaders, man. Woman. These are not our leaders. They do not actively wake up, engage in fixing and aiding in making your life better in this society. This is a dangerous job when you when you are an agitator, or when you are a person who brings a voice to the disrespect, the ills, and you create conflict when people are comfortable in their madness. You can't not claim to work for the people if you're not willing to die for the people. Really, honestly, in this landscape of what America is, and the constant disinvestment of black folks in this country, the constant disinvestment and marginalization of black communities, the constant disenfranchisement, where you have Clinton 94 crime bill and Reagan 82, I think, war on drugs, removed a whole generation of black men for 20, 30 years, incarcerated black men for selling cannabis and marijuana. Yet only white men benefit from legalization of cannabis. Only white men benefit. You have 75 licenses here in Illinois given to white men, while no minority or black people, period, that have been affected by the war on drugs are allowed to own a license, have been given a license to even participate in the wealth building process that white men are partaking in or partook in. We sit back and watch this as though this is normal. The systematic annihilation of certain caste and class of men. You snatched for 40 years. You incarcerated black men for the same product of flour, for the same product that has made in Illinois poised to make $2 billion this year alone, off of a product that built the state of Illinois prison system, that helped to produce and build the state of Illinois prison system, off a product that still locked young black men up and boys up on corners throughout America, on a product that still have black men and women languishing in prison for the sales and distribution of cannabis and drugs in general. This is a shame. Yes, Biden is a part of the Clinton crime bill. He helped pass it. And we asking, even in this case, that Biden declare moratorium on the expansion of cannabis industry across this country. It is unfair and is rather disrespectful for white men to capitalize on the very thing that has destroyed black communities with the war on drugs. And it's very disparaging and disrespectful and rather ignorant of us as a community and black folks and those who claim that they represent democracy, that they represent diversity, equity, and inclusion. And that's non-black. To not join forces with those who've been victimized by the war on drugs. The only true social equity applicants are those who've been victimized by the war on drugs. Everyone else get in line. And that's real. So no one is innocent in this situation. No one is innocent. But if we're gonna say use weed as justification to make weed legal, to say that the wealth that's produced by the sales and distribution of cannabis will also make would be the product or the act to build wealth so we can fix the conditions in our community caused by the war on drugs, then we should own those licenses. We should own the wealth making opportunities. But that's not the case, people. That was all the tool and the technology used by white lobbyists, white cannabis industry, medical, in the name of medical marijuana, white industry to justify furthering their billionaire affairs. while we watch as our sons and daughters languish in these prison houses, as the police state is still active in locking brothers up for selling cannabis or any drugs for that matter. Throwing away people's whole lives over drugs that pharmaceuticals get away with every day. And men lose their lives every day over some choices that other human beings make to partake in grown people human stuff. So I'm fed up with the lack of empathy as it relates to our community by corporate America, who capitalize and benefit off our ignorance, take our dollars, but never put any real resources back into fixing and repairing the communities and the people that buy their products. They don't have to. They're not made to. Everyone get rich off of our condition. Everyone get rich off the ills of our communities. Yet they put nothing back in the community that's tangible to fix and to create a future for our children. They getting ready to lock up and kill the next generation of black boys. I knew making legal was not going to be a good move. That's right, Brian. So with that being said, people, I'm telling you, we're about to turn up the heat. We're about to turn up the heat on all these establishments, corporate America, all these construction companies that have no black men and boys trained and working in the field. This cannabis industry that has no true equity and black ownership in the grow or even in the licensing process, and yet they're trying to stretch across the country. In these political positions, posts, and titles, we're about to go at these political office, and we're about to turn some of these offices up, at least in Chicago, as we stretch across the country. We're about to turn it up and turn the heat up on our elected officials. We're about to remove some of these house niggas and gatekeepers out of our communities and turn up the pressure on those who do not represent our community, that allow people to come in and usurp our funding with this zoning and licensing of everything in our communities when we have no black ownership of nothing. Yet our sons and daughters are unemployed. In our very community, men come and develop properties, and we are not on the work site. Men come in and develop roads and bridges and highways, yet we are not on those sites. In our communities, you couldn't go in no Italian, no Latinos. You couldn't go in white folks' neighborhoods, man. You can go in Chinatown and be a majority black company and build nothing in their neighborhoods. Yet they come in our neighborhoods and think they could get 70 and 80% of the contract while we get less than 3%. They get 70, 80%. White men are not told that they have to have no WNBE, MBE, or no alphabets behind their name of their companies. They don't have to have and show that they minorities as white men, yet we have to have names and letters and certifications on our companies to justify getting a contract. Your paperwork has to be together. White man paperwork don't have to be together. By extension of his whiteness, he show up, he has a company, and he gets 80 to 90% of that contract in your neighborhood. With the help of all the men section and all zoning and licensing, they give them that. Wake up, people. Wake the fuck up. Wake the hell up. Grow up. And be about the business of being about the change you want to see for yourself and your kind. Other than that, it won't be long before we wiped out of these communities, and we will all be renters of property owned by others that's already slumlords. It's time for us to give our children something, man. And it's time for us as black men, if you out there, to wake up and stop being cowards and stand up and stand for something. Or we're going to keep on falling for anything. This is a sad state we living in. And this is the urgency of now. And we about to be about the business of standing on our business. Because it's only going to get worse. And I'm going to try to come back at least once a week to do an update on progress and what it is that we're doing. Once again, we have a solution to the violence in our communities, but without resources and without the help of our elected officials and even corporate in America to get at this, it will never be done. So do not look or listen to them who say that violence is this, violence is that. They really don't have a true investment in stopping violence. Violence is profitable. Violence serves everyone but our community. And we must realize that. So with that being said, I'm going to shut it down. And take care.